president pushing back hard on that book, Fire and Fury.
Branding the author a total loser, calling himself a genius.
I went to the best colleges. I was a very excellent student, came out, made billions and billions of dollars, ran for president one time and won. And then I hear this guy that does not know me. And I guess Sloppy Steve brought him into the White House quite a bit. That's why Sloppy Steve is now looking for a job.
They are so deranged about Trump. They need him out. They can't do any of this without depleting his political bank account, and his political bank account is going up.
President Trump and Republicans talking immigration reform at their Camp David retreat.
A major expansion of border security.
We want the wall. The wall's going to happen, or we're not going to have DACA.
Republicans say they want to talk, or they did discuss strategy on budgeting they want to push and how they want to negotiate or deal with Democrats.
We hope that 2018 will be a year of more bipartisan cooperation.
Mariota to the line of scrimmage, maybe across the line. It deflects back to him for a touchdown.
Friday night, that's when all the conditions are right for a good time. I need a good time.
We're having a good time.
We're having a good time. You know, that football highlight combined with a Friday night song made me think of my last football game in high school of all time.
Yeah.
Caught a hook and ladder. We scored for a touchdown to tie the game in the playoffs. We're down by 1. We kick the extra point, kick it into the rear end of the center. We lose by 1 point.
Do you still watch the reel?
Oh, no.
No, I haven't watched it for 15 years.
Did you throw yourself a touchdown pass?
I did not throw myself a touchdown pass. I was part of the hook and ladder, though. I caught the hook and then gave it to the ladder to the fast guy who could actually run.
All right.
And we scored the touchdown. So thanks for joining me on memory lane there for a second. But Mariota had a much cooler play in that touchdown, and the Titans won. They came back from 18 down to win the game.
Yeah, and perhaps only to be outdone by the other highlight of the morning, which is the president pushing back against a book that has portrayed him as an undisciplined, uninterested in winning president that eats cheeseburgers in bed and every other thing you can throw in with the kitchen sink in a narrative which is being picked up in the media and being driven by the president's critics. Yesterday, the president at Camp David meeting with many of his cabinet members
talking about policy.
The important agenda, DACA, infrastructure, the deadline on spending coming. The president took to the microphones, as he has so many times before, and said, "I've had enough." Take a listen to this.
I went to the best college. I was a very excellent student, came out, made billions and billions of dollars, went to television, ran for president one time and won. And then I hear this, doesn't know me at all. By the way, did not interview me for he said he interviewed me for 3 hours in the White House. I consider it a work of fiction. And I think it's a disgrace that somebody's able to have something, do something like that. Just so you understand, there's been no collusion. There's been no crime. I'm not under investigation. When you've done nothing wrong, let's be open. It's making our country look foolish. And this is a country that I don't want looking foolish.
Well, and if you're President Trump, you're probably very frustrated with this, because if you're looking at the left, you're looking at the mainstream media and people that don't like him, it's like, figure out what's your narrative, right? He's either this, incompetent individual who didn't want to win the election, or he is colluding with the Russians and Vladimir Putin to win. So which one is it? But, we talked to David Bossie earlier today, who was there with President Trump, working side by side to help him get elected. Take a listen.
He admits it right in the beginning of the book. He says, this is my version of the truth. He doesn't say, this is factual, this is the truth. He says, this is my version of the truth. So this is a fraudster. It's a fraud of a book. The president's had to put up with the fake news for the last year of his presidency, and before that, a year during his campaign. Now he has to deal with a fake book. We have to get back to the business of why this president got elected.
They never did and would never have done this to Barack Obama. This president faces unprecedented headwinds. You consider where he is and what he's gotten done, his popularity level, in light of the fact that the entire fake news media hates him. And this isn't just a salacious book that we know is New York Times. This is literally a news article in paragraph 10 in Maggie Haberman.
Yesterday.
Yesterday she admitted that this book was full of errors. Now today, this is Mr. Trump's self-absorption, impulsiveness, lack of empathy, obsessive focus on slights, tenuous grasp of facts, and penchant for sometimes far-reaching conspiracy theories have garnered, goes on to talk about media coverage. Does that sound like reporting? Look, Griff, you would never put your name behind something like that as a journalist. But this is not journalism. This is an all-out attack on a president.
Well, listen, I'm not going to attack my colleagues in the media because it is a unique time covering the president. And, you know, this is, as David Bossie was intimating, a very frustrating time because this book, which is, again, let's get full context. This was Michael Wolff, that is, an author of numerous books, wrote for Vanity Fair, New Yorker Magazine. But at the end of the day, it would be fair to call him a skilled gossip journalist. This is what he does. And as I have said, we'll finally learn why he was even in there for as much time. But at the same time, many of my colleagues in the media are at risk of playing a part of developing this narrative that is feeding a picture of a president who just accomplished tax reform that had been done in 3 decades and now is sitting at a bargaining table today with an offer on the table to fix what appears to be the most pressing concern of Democrats, which is getting legal status for some 800,000 illegal immigrants who are brought here as children.
And I think that's the frustrating part. It's not just frustrating for President Trump. I think it's also frustrating for viewers at home. It's frustrating for American voters who care about the kitchen table issues. They care about how tax reform law is going to affect them, how that's going to equal, more take-home pay, to be able to pay the bills, pay their electricity bills. And the problem is you have the media basically peddling this book as truth, when, as you had mentioned, the author is a gossip columnist. There's been parts of the book debunked. The New York Times, Maggie Haberman had debunked part of the books. In the book, it says that President Trump didn't know who former Speaker John Boehner was, but we know that they went golfing back in 2013 together. Of course he knew who former Speaker John Boehner is. But yet you have people that are peddling it as truths.
Because they're peddling a narrative as they've been peddling it from the very beginning. But to your point about issues, people care about the drugs pouring across our border. People care about the MS-13 problem. They care about the national security implications of a porous border. They care about citizenship, that being here as a citizen matters, not just existing here. That's what President Trump has talked about on immigration. That's why he's been dedicated to a wall. And he's willing to make a deal on DACA, but he's been clear. I'm going to get my wall. Listen.
We want the wall. The wall's going to happen or we're not going to have DACA. We want to get rid of chain migration. We need some additional border security. These are great people. We all want DACA to happen, but we also want great security for our country. We have to get rid of the visa lottery. They're not sending us their finest. I think, frankly, the Democrats feel strongly about it, too. I mean, Chuck Schumer, he saw somebody that came in through the lottery system. He saw this man kill 8 people on the West Side Highway. I really think we'll have a lot of Democrat support. I hope so. I believe that Mexico will pay for the wall. We're negotiating NAFTA, but Mexico will pay. In some form, Mexico will pay for the wall.
And what's really interesting here is we've had plenty of Democrats who are still serving in Congress who have voted for the Secure Fence Act back in 2006, who have voted to put up barriers along the southern border
hundreds of miles
in the past. And they've talked more aggressively about border security and illegality at the border in the past, right, Griff?
Well, yeah, it actually goes farther. Let's go all the way back. In 1996, the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996, Section 102, authorized the DHS to construct what they called then fence, now a border. It led through several iterations. It led to 2006, to 2013, with many of these Democrats supporting it. And let me just take you back.
Then? Who was president then?
It was Bill Clinton. And
Bill
we've
Clinton.
pulled that tape along with former President Obama. Take a listen to this.
We are increasing border controls by 50%. We are increasing inspections to prevent the hiring of illegal immigrants. And tonight I announce I will sign an executive order to deny federal contracts to businesses that hire illegal immigrants. Let me be very clear about this. We are still a nation of immigrants. We should be proud of it. We should honor every legal immigrant here working hard to be a good citizen, working hard to become a new citizen. But we are also a nation of laws.
Do we have that Obama sound? Here we go.
Funding for better fences and better security along our borders. Yes, we need tougher border security and stronger enforcement measures. Yes, we need more resources for customs and border agents and more detention beds.
So at least that was back in the day when Democrats would even use the word illegal immigration. Now they're undocumented migrants or undocumented immigrants. But that is Bill Clinton pushing for, as you talked about, a law to secure our border. That's George W. Bush passing the Secure Fence Act. That was Barack Obama talking about in 2006. He voted for 350 miles of border fence, along with Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Chuck Schumer. That was then Senator Obama. And then just a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, the Gang of Eight, trying to pass comprehensive immigration reform. They wanted to double the amount of miles to 700 miles. That was voted for by 54 Democrats. So Democrats were for the border fence before they were against it. And they're against it because they hate this president and some of the rhetoric that he uses to define the fact that we are a country. President Trump would say the same thing Clinton said. We are a country of laws. We have laws. Either we enforce them or we don't.
But they've turned the wall into this boogeyman. And the problem is it's because President Trump's name is next to it. And you know what? I actually think that Hillary Clinton did herself harm by not taking a stance really on illegality at the border. And it's not just me. You have a liberal host like Chris Matthews who made this point after the election that he never mentioned, or Hillary Clinton never mentioned illegality at the border. And instead, she gave a platform to illegal immigrants at the Democrat convention. Mm-hmm. And I think that if she had touched on that issue, it would have had an impact with a lot of Americans. Instead, President Trump was the one that made illegal immigration a cornerstone of his campaign. And it's important to not conflate that with legal immigrants.
That's a good point. I mean, look, by turning the wall into the boogeyman on an issue for which they have supported for years and years and affects 800,000 young illegal immigrants who are seeking legal status, you've now created a problem not for the White House, but more, I would argue, for Democrats, because he has a deal on the table. He has an offer, which is to continue this fence, the security that was already in place, not what they've made it out to be. And if they walk away, it's going to be on them and not the president, even though the president needs bipartisan support.
And what scares the Democrats the most is this president has shown that he's going to do what he actually says he's going to do, which is why his supporters love him so much. He said he's going to build the wall. He wants to build the wall. He's committed to building the wall. We'll see if a government shutdown is the moment at which that happens. But he's coming to the table with a deal. He's saying, I'll give you DACA, and I want the wall that you used to be for. And if you message that properly, it will be the Democrats who are exposed once again as obstructionists. Because, Lisa, to your point, they have not learned. Bernie Sanders came out yesterday right away and said, you don't get a wall. No wall for you. All we care about are these illegal immigrants, the dreamers. That's what we're committed to. If that's their message going forward, the forgotten men and women who came out for Trump are going to come out even stronger for him, because they're for legal Americans and a wall that protects all of us.
And very quickly, for those at home, important dates to keep in mind. January 19th, spending bill. Congress is going to have to address trying to keep the government open. And also, President Trump is giving Congress till March to deal with DACA. So important dates to keep in mind about immigration.
And that's not all happening in Washington. Congress now calling on the DOJ to investigate the author of the dirty Trump dossier. So are criminal charges next for Christopher Steele? Sarah Carter has been following this case from the beginning. She is on deck.
And one soldier made the ultimate trip home to see the birth of his daughter. His incredible journey is coming up next. When you've been fighting for it all your life, you've been struggling to make things right. It's all superhero.
Welcome back. GOP lawmakers issuing a criminal referral into to the author of that anti-Trump dossier, Christopher Steele. He's now being referred to the DOJ for allegedly making false statements to investigators.
So what exactly does this mean? Fox News contributor and investigative journalist Sarah Carter has been covering the story from the beginning. She joins us now to break it all down. Sarah, you have led on this. I have talked to you in the hallways morning after morning. Where is this stand?
I think this is significant. What we're going to see is that Grassley and Graham have some information in a memo. It was a classified memo not released in their letter on Friday, but it's significant enough to tell us that Christopher Steele was disingenuous or lied. And that's what they wanted to know. One thing they do know is that he had interviewed with a lot of different newspaper out here in Washington, D.C. And I'm sorry, I have a bounce back in my earpiece, so if it sounds like I'm stuttering, that's what's going on here. So Christopher Steele was actually interviewing with various newspapers. One thing that they do know is that at the same time, he was also talking with the FBI. Remember, the committees hadn't interviewed him yet. So one of the big questions that they have is, in this memo, which we have not seen, it's classified. I think we're going to get some more information out this week from the committee on this. Was Christopher Steele being disingenuous to the FBI? If he was, they want to file these 18 U.S.C. 1001 criminal charges, which were the same charges they brought against Papadopoulos and Flynn. And that's what, so right now, this is very significant.
Sarah, staying on this, I know you've been all over this and looking into every aspect of both this investigation and the dossier. In your estimation, what role did the dossier play in both the special counsel investigation as well as the public narrative that we've seen about the investigation itself?
Lisa, I think it played a significant role, and I think this is the big question. This is the question that the House Intelligence Committee wants answered. I think one flows right into the other. We see that the Senate Judiciary's investigation is really focusing right now on Christopher Steele and the dossier. The House Intelligence Committee wants to know, did the FBI use this dossier to launch its investigation, to open up its investigation to Trump and Trump campaign officials, which would have allowed for spying on Americans? And did they verify anything in the dossier? Remember, the only thing McCabe, this is Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who will be leaving soon from the FBI and who has a number of problems himself. The only thing he said that was verified was the fact that Carter Page had gone to Moscow. If that's the case and they use this dossier to open up these investigations, there's going to be a lot of people on Capitol Hill with a lot more questions and a lot more concerns.
Sir, we had Dan Bongino on the program earlier, and he suggested that potentially this investigation may have started even before the dossier, but then the dossier was used as later on as the justification. Any information on that timeline?
Yeah, so there's two issues going on here. One is the Papadopoulos meeting, with the Australian in England at the bar, and that's been thrown out there now. That had not surfaced until after everybody started to uncover all of this information about the dossier. And as you remember, CNN even reported way back months ago that it was the dossier itself, according to their sources, that launched this criminal investigation. So right now there's a lot of leaks. And speaking of leaks, Pete, I think the biggest thing to look out for is who is leaking inside the FBI. I know right now, and within the DOJ, that both the House Intelligence Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee is really focusing in on that. And also the DOJ's Inspector General. Were there people within the FBI and DOJ that were leaking? Andrew Weissman right now is being called out on the table in the Nunes letter, and they want to know what he said to reporters on April 17th last year.
All right.
So this is very important.
Sarah, we got to leave it there. Much to look forward to. Thank you so much for your hard work and for joining us this morning.
Thank you,
Thanks
Sarah.
so much.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Lisa.
Get that earpiece fixed for you, too. Oh, count on it. Griff will get it for you in D.C. next time he's there. The DOJ investigating the Clinton Foundation, and the man in charge of the case in Arkansas used to work for a man we know. Governor Mike Huckabee knows the prosecutor. Tell us what we can expect next.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
Some quick headlines. As promised, the president will be handing out the Dishonest and Corrupt Media Awards tomorrow night. The RNC and Trump campaign released a poll asking supporters to rate the fakeness of 3 big stories. ABC's corrected report on Michael Flynn's FBI testimony. CNN's reporting that Don Jr. had early access to WikiLeaks documents, and a Times report that the president removed a Martin Luther King Jr. bust from the Oval Office. And after handing out those awards, President Trump will be taking in some football. The Commander-in-Chief and First Lady attending the College Football National Championship in Atlanta. The Georgia Bulldogs squaring off against the Alabama Crimson Tide tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a game.
Well, more trouble for Hillary Clinton. The feds opening up a new investigation into a potential pay-to-play scandal, probing allegations that the Clinton Foundation offered favors to donors while she served as Secretary of State.
The federal prosecutor on the case, Cody Highland, started his career working under our next guest, who calls him fair but tenacious.
Fox News contributor and former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, joins us now. Hi, Governor.
Good morning. Great to be with you, Lisa and Griff, Pete.
Governor, what do viewers at home need to know about this prosecutor?
Well, he's fair, but he's fearless. Here's the thing about Cody Highland. He started his career with me, worked his way up through, then became an elected prosecutor at the district level, was appointed U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas. But here's what people ought to understand. Cody Highland has prosecuted Republicans in his district, even against pressure from other Republicans that said, Cody, just let it go. He doesn't let it go. He's going to be fair. He's not going to play this politically. That's not who he is. It's not what he does. Look, I've said he would prosecute his own grandmother if he thought she had done something that was worthy of being prosecuted. I've said it this way. If I were guilty, I'd be scared to death. Sure. If I were innocent, I'd sleep well at night.
Well, that's all you want. And so the reason is that the Clinton Foundation was founded in Little Rock, Arkansas. So if he's now the U.S. Attorney for Arkansas, he and the FBI agents there are leading this. Do you have any sense of how long it might go on? Any other information about what you think they may find?
No, I really don't, Pete. I mean, this is all about how many, I guess, resources they provide to that area and, how long they give them. And I don't know that they've actually confirmed that there's an investigation going on. I mean, I think everybody assumes there is, and there's been reports out of the DOJ that there is. And Cody would, of course, be the one that would be in charge of handling that. But I don't know that anybody knows the details, which is a good thing. We shouldn't know the details. That indicates that there's somebody who's leaking like a sieve out there.
True, but you know the Clintons and sort of their reputation for shady backroom deals and for years coming from Arkansas. I mean, if we really started looking under the hood on this stuff, how far could it possibly go?
I mean, it could go a long way. There's an enormous level of during the time when there was only one party in Arkansas. I mean, anything went, and we went after a lot of the corruption. We saw 17 different elected officials, state legislators, other statewide officials who were indicted, convicted, and/or sentenced to various things. It was a real clean-out process. Cody saw all of that. He understands what this looks like. And something that I do know that Cody is very committed to is getting rid of public corruption, because nothing undermines a basic form of government more than people who have been entrusted with the sacred duty of a public office who violate that trust and who use it either for personal gain or to punish other people. And he, I know, because, of the longstanding not only relationship that I've had with him, but watching him as a local prosecutor, he just doesn't tolerate public corruption because he understands how dangerous it is to our form of government.
And, Governor, just to be very clear, what it's specifically hunting for right now is whether or not any tax-exempt assets were converted for personal or political use. That's the focus of this, correct?
That's my understanding. And again, I can't speak to that firsthand. Nobody from the DOJ has told me that. But I think we all understand that pay for play is what really is at stake here. And that's what they've got to look at.
All right. Governor Mike Huckabee, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Governor.
Appreciate it, sir.
Great to be with you guys.
Well, it's not just the media anymore. Now, Hollywood is wondering if President Trump is mentally unfit for office. Will the attacks continue tonight from the stage of the Golden Globes?
And one soldier made the ultimate trip home to see the birth of his daughter. His incredible journey coming up.
Where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly. It's a big old land with countless dreams.
All right, and now that Russian collusion has become a dead end, Hollywood and leftist media become unhinged about mentally ill President Trump and ask that he be removed.
It's true. The Fire and Fury book has truly triggered not just the left, but Hollywood. And we'd love to hear from Hollywood. And specifically, when I saw all this talk about mental fitness and mental health, is the president capable? I'm not looking to the New York Times or CNN. I was thinking, I need to know what the director of such esteemed film as The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Trainwreck, and Knocked Up, what does he think?
Judd Apatow.
Whatever Judd Apatow thinks has to be right.
Well, and I'll tell you what he thinks.
Please tell me.
Because he was triggered, and he tweeted as a result. And he wrote, "Please shut the blank up. Please, for once in your life, shut the blank up. We all need one moment of peace, you spoiled, self-involved idiot. Take a nap, change your sheets, eat a non-poisoned Big Mac. Just take a blank break for a moment. Give us that gift! !
You know, it sounds like Judd Apatow needs a safe space.
Why does he need to change the sheets?
He actually, he went on. That wasn't it. He actually continued on, and he wrote, "We all should be filling the offices of our legislators and calling nonstop today, demanding this mentally ill president be removed. Not doing so puts lives at risk. If we don't, history will ask, why didn't we act?"
Yeah, they say that Trump is the one that sounds deranged. I don't know about you, but a lot of this sounds deranged. I also want to know, Judd Apatow, I don't know where he lives, probably in Hollywood. I don't know.
Hollywood.
We should ask his representatives. Has he been burning up the phone lines? Has he made a trip to D.C. yet? Is he clogging up the offices? And how are you going to remove him? What's your plan?
Well, it's not going to stop with him.
Well, Griff, are you going to be watching the Golden Globes tonight?
I can't wait, because it's going to be more, we expect, of the same sort of outrage. And, you know, the fascinating thing about Apatow's text is, if you're going to make an argument to the rest of the nation that the president is mentally unfit, don't do a diatribe of word salad with expletives to do so, because then you look exactly, as you say, you know, you're perhaps not mentally fit if you're just blowing off on Twitter. And so we're going to see at the Globes certainly people lining up to take shots.
Yeah, I know. Of course. You'll be watching.
I will definitely be watching at appointment television for me. We asked you if you'll be watching along with me, and your emails have been pouring in. I'm not watching, and I don't think you are either. But,
I didn't think you were.
And box office, you know, if it goes by movie box office receipts, Hollywood's been down big time this year. Maybe it's because they make movies that people don't really care about. Well, this is what Gary emailed us about. He said, "I didn't realize people even cared about the Golden Globes anymore. Seems outdated." Amen.
Well, and Darlene wrote, "Will not be watching Golden Globes or pro football. Neither is entertaining any longer. Don't want politics in my life every moment of the day." I think there's a lot of people that agree with you, Darlene, myself included.
And Dawn, putting it pretty straightforward, I'm not giving them 1 second of airtime.
That's true. I mean, we may bring you some of the greatest hits tomorrow morning on Fox and Friends. Possibly. We'll see. But it would be so refreshing to see them not take the bait, actually step away from Never Trumper land, have some real comedy. There's plenty of things to laugh about in this world. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll shock us all.
But it's also so frustrating because we've seen, you know, all these actors want to preach to the rest of America, thumb their nose at the rest of America, when not only do they live in their ivory towers, but they live in their glass houses. Yet they continue to throw stones. They don't get their own houses in check. So I think a lot of Americans are just so frustrated and completely over being lectured to by a bunch of hypocrites.
Well, I'll tell you what Americans do want, and that is some headlines that you can use. Turning to those now, Republican Senator Jeff Flake says there's no evidence that American diplomats were victims of mysterious sonic attacks in Cuba. After classified briefings from U.S. officials, the Arizona senator, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, says he has no reason to doubt the Cuban account.
Something happened. We don't know what it was, but there's no evidence that the Cuban government attacked diplomats here.
24 U.S. government officials and spouses fell ill in Havana starting in 2016. And the U.S. Army's official Twitter account appears to like a tweet mocking President Trump. Actress Mindy Kaling's tweet seen in the like column on the Army's page. It is no longer there, and we've now received an update from the Army that it was an honest mistake. The tweet featured Kaling's character from The Office saying, "You guys, I'm like really smart now." An apparent dig at the president's Saturday morning tweets. No gender, no problem. Washington state will soon allow residents to change their sex on birth certificates to a gender-neutral option. The new rule, starting January 27th, will let people identify as gender X instead of male or female, and no doctor permission is required. Proving there's no obstacle our military can't tackle, a U.S. soldier in Iraq takes 10 flights in 2 days to be home in California for the birth of his first child. Look at that there. U.S. Army combat engineer Francois Clairfait and his wife welcoming baby Julia into the world on New Year's Day. Clairfait says it was the trip of a lifetime that he plans to tell his daughter for years to come. He returns to his post next month, and I am left with goosebumps. Those are your headlines.
And congratulations to them.
Yeah, congratulations.
All right, well, and now to some weather. It's freezing outside. We know this. And with temperatures in the single digits, we had our own Adam Klotz outside yesterday trying to stay warm. Watch this.
Take a look.
I really don't need a gym membership. I've got everything I need. Look at this. I can clap. I can clap.
Oh, the clap push-up.
Wow. That's pretty impressive, Adam.
This is
I told you I could go all day.
Griff says he can do more than you.
I will not be doing that.
Here we go. All right, more on that. Taunt me you will, Pete Hegseth. So we have sent Pete out there to match him.
It's true.
I'm shaking my head right now
nice and warm out
because
here.
to make me feel bad about myself, you came out without a jacket on.
Yep. No jacket needed. Come on, if you're from Minnesota, this is called Tuesday. This is just
I'm
a
not from
regular
Minnesota,
day.
but I can't be left. Can't be left alone. Temperatures are absolutely frigid out here, right? Would you agree?
I would agree. I'll take your jacket.
Are you going to put it? Don't put it on.
No, I'm not putting it on. I'm giving it away. No,
Okay.
I'm helping you out.
Temperatures, what are they? What would you guess?
I would say 5, but they're above 0, so we're fine.
Right, 5 degrees, but it feels like negative 10 degrees. It's going to be warming up in the next couple of days. But what are we out here for?
We're out here apparently to do a push-up contest. I was told that's...
Am I supposed to do the forecast while
America wants it, yeah.
Okay,
while doing push-ups.
While doing push-ups?
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
Can we
sure.
do it together?
Yeah, let's do it
All right,
together.
let's go. You did the jump push-ups or the clap push-ups.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that again.
You don't want to do that again while doing weather?
Is that what you want to do?
Well, yeah, ready?
Wait.
What's he pulling out? He's pulling out his phone. Ready? Come on, what's the weather? It's 5 degrees, negative 13 wind chill. What's it like on the eastern seaboard?
It'd be great if we could take the maps, but
no, we don't need any maps.
Well,
I don't need no stinking maps.
Wind chill is negative 25 degrees in Boston right now. But the good news is, high of 18 degrees in New York City today.
Okay.
Tomorrow, high into the mid-30s.
Okay.
Tuesday, high into the upper 30s.
You're slowing down, buddy.
Slowing down. Slowing down.
I did push-ups yesterday.
I did push-ups yesterday. We just aired it.
I'm dying. And I'm planking from here. What's the weather like in Sacramento?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I can't think.
How about at the national championship game on Monday?
It's negative 5 degrees out.
What's the?
Should be
My
great.
muscles are seizing up.
Oh my gosh. Are we still on TV right now?
On the other side. I got it. That's your weather forecast. It's my first forecast ever as a weatherman.
Oh, you did a great job.
Thanks, guys. More Fox and Friends on the other side.
Good job.
Same game. It don't matter who the opponent is.
Some quick headlines. Alabama's strength and conditioning coach making it clear the Crimson Tide will not settle for second this time around. Scott Cochran destroying the runner-up trophy from last year's title game. His team will face the Georgia Bulldogs in the college football championship tomorrow night.
Well, because if they lose, they just get another one.
Yeah.
So, can destroy last year's.
And take a look at this Clemson student's unbelievable half-court putt.
I got to tell you, with the cold weather, every outside green is frozen, but this guy probably felt like he was putting on a frozen green. Will it go for $10,000? It does.
Wow. Drain the putt. Christopher Carnes canning a 94-foot putt, winning $10,000 during last night's basketball game against Louisville. He says he'll use the money to help pay for college.
Better believe you will. That is awesome.
All right. Well, North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un could be going for the gold, agreeing to a rare meeting with South Korea ahead of next month's Winter Olympics. President Trump now weighing in on his tough stance, bringing them to the table. Take a listen.
I would love to see them take it beyond the Olympics. I'd like to see them getting involved in the Olympics, and maybe things go from there. So I'm behind that 100%. I always believe in talking.
Do you think?
But we have a very firm stance. Right now, they're talking Olympics. It's a start. It's a big start. If I weren't involved, they wouldn't be talking about Olympics right now.
Here to react, Fox News military analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ollie North. Colonel, I just did a push-up contest. It was not pretty, but I would never do a push-up contest against you, ever.
I'm just glad that the atrial fibrillation hasn't kicked in yet.
It's close. It's close. So, Colonel, you're looking at the president has had tough talk on North Korea for almost his entire presidency. They want to take a different approach there. Is it working, and would talks be effective?
Well, look, there's a long tradition of the North Koreans getting pushed to the point where they'll sit and talk to somebody, anybody. But the bottom line of it is they're going to continue to use the Iranian money and technology to build nuclear weapons and ICBMs. I mean, the bottom line of all of this is that It's a good thing that they're talking, no doubt about that. At least we know if they've got, I think, 2 figure skaters that are going to show up, and that means it's very unlikely that they're going to be launching a terror attack against the Olympics. So that's a very positive thing. I don't see this thing going anywhere, but gosh, it would be wonderful if they did.
Colonel, go ahead.
Colonel, CIA Director Mike Pompeo said not too long ago that he estimates about a few months for North Korea to get the technology that they want and that they're looking for. So what do we do in the interim period of time, and what can we do? Is there anything that we can do within that period, that short period of time?
Sure. Look, the bottom line of all of what goes on in North Korea is controlled in Beijing. If the Chinese are convinced that we will take military action, they will deal with it. They don't want 10 million refugees coming across the Tanaro and Yalu rivers and boat people coming up the west coast of Korea to take refuge in China. It will wreck their economy. It's not good for anybody, and they know it. They just aren't certain of whether all of this has been rough and bluster or whether it's real.
Colonel, you speak about the bottom line just very quickly. New York Times has a cover story today saying that the intelligence officials perhaps misread the timing on this, and that the rogue regime is far more along in terms of threatening not only places like Guam, but also Washington, D.C.
Well, yeah, look, the president needs to remind the world, not just people here in this country, this is an existential threat to the United States of America and to the peace and solidarity around the rest of the world. And what needs to happen, again, is everybody's got to line up and go in the door and convince President Xi and the Politburo in Beijing this is not in their interest to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of a nutcase who, by the way, all that button stuff that was going on earlier this week, bottom line of it is he may well have a button. The President of the United States doesn't have one, but he may have a button, and that's the scary part of this thing.
That is the scary part. Well, Colonel, I have to quickly get to the fact that you are now, I've known you a long time, but you're now also a wise guy. Tonight, premiering on Fox News at 8 p.m., a new show called The Wise Guys.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun. And the bottom line of it is these are very smart people. I'm there as the infantry officer, right? I'm a grunt. These guys, Alan Dershowitz, Steve Wynn, Ari Fleischer, Dr. Bill Bennett, those are the bright guys. They're the best and the brightest that you could possibly put on a show. Yeah, thank you. And the bottom line of all of that is I'm the grunt. I'm just there to a little common sense to these ethereal level thinkers. That's what I'm there for.
Well, and Colonel, if viewers want more, they can also see you on Fox Business tonight at 9 p.m. War Stories with Oliver North. The Tet Offensive airs tonight.
Which, by the way, was going on right about now, just beginning right about now with the attack at the Quezon Combat Base of the Marines. It's nice of Fox to make sure that I can be seen at 8 o'clock on our channel, and then at 9 o'clock, just quickly cut over to Fox Business Network.
All Ollie, all the time.
2 hours of Ollie. What more could you ask for? I love it. Wise Guys tonight, 8 o'clock. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right, President Trump laying out his demands for a DACA deal.
We want the wall. The wall's going to happen, or we're not going to have DACA.
But Democrats are threatening a government shutdown to get their way. Our next guest defends our border every day and says the Dems are politicizing border security.
In the Dow, starting the year off strong, closing above 25,000. What can we expect this week? Maria Bartiromo here to discuss in the next hour.
Border security, real border security, and help for the dreamers.
What they want to do is take 800,000 dreamers and cap them. Democrats have to hold the line.
Well, Democrats making their message clear, threatening a government shutdown in exchange for a DACA deal. But what do those actually defending our border have to say about that?
Brandon Judd is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He joins us now to weigh in. Brandon, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Here's the bottom line. Are Democrats starting or continuing in many cases to politicize border security?
They are. And look, if they shut the government down, they're going to shut it down for maybe a week tops. They're not going to keep the government shut down. So that's not a threat that the Republicans should take seriously. But again, the Democrats are politicizing border security. In 2013, when they were talking about immigration reform, they were willing to give up 700 additional miles of double fencing, and now all of a sudden they're not. That's the political game.
What do the guys on the ground want? Guys and gals on that border, do they want a wall, and does it make their job easier?
They do. They want walls in strategic locations. I've been on the border. I worked in some of the busiest locations in the entire United States, and I can tell you that when we did not have physical barriers, it was very easy for people to cross. When we constructed those physical barriers, it became a lot easier for us to dictate where the crossings would take place, and it would allow us to be a lot more successful.
And Brandon, a lot of these Democratic senators and members of the House who are criticizing the wall don't live in border districts. This isn't something that they're intimately familiar with like you. So what would you say to them if you had the opportunity to sit down with one of them?
I would love for them to go down and tour the border with me so I could show them exactly what it looks like, and they would be surprised. I mean, even congressmen that are in border districts, like Congresswoman McSally, we've taken her down to the border, and she's seen just exactly how porous it is, and that is her district. We've got to get border security, and the only person that is constantly pushing for that is President Trump. But the fact of the matter is, and this is where they're politicizing it, they don't want him to have another win. He just had a huge win in tax reform, and now he's going to get another win in his border.
Well, we'll see what happens. Brandon Judd, thank you very much for taking time.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you for your service.
Coming up, his last-minute touchdown pass won the game for his team, and it also sent another team into the playoffs. Now, Buffalo Bills fans are repaying Andy Dalton in a huge way. The Bengals quarterback